The Toronto Blue Jays are making moves, and what has been one of the most exciting stretches of play from the Toronto Blue Jays we have seen in years. They continue to make moves. To write down those moves, but also discuss some crucial updates surrounding the Jays. And while they're in the middle of a fantastic stretch of play, they have more reinforcements on the way, including some big names returning very, very soon. I want to break down these new reports, discuss what it means going forward ahead of a chance to guarantee a win in the series against the New York Yankees, your AL East rival, tonight in their Game 3 of the series, folks. A ton to go over, as well as an interesting tidbit on a prospect. A ton of news to go over today, folks. Before we get into it all, if you're part of the percentage, you want to subscribe to the channel. You guys have been absolute beasts with the subscribe button and also just being supportive. You guys have been just unbelievable, and the Jays are rolling as well. So if you want to continue to help us towards our big goal of 20,000 subscribers, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys once again for continued support, folks. There is a lot to go over today, and man, oh man, is it a big day for the Jays. They won yesterday in what was one of the craziest games in the last decade, but given the Canada Day and given the lack of playoff success, especially in the last handful of seasons. Of course, last decade we had the 2015 and 2016 runs. Let's just dive right into it. There's a few different things to go over today. Now, let's start with the big news here, and we'll start with some injury updates. We also have a couple moves that we're going to dive into a little bit later on in the video, but let's start with a pretty big update here surrounding Yimi Garcia. Now, this came from Ross Atkins, and it's very important specifically as it pertains to tonight, because there is a chance he gets activated before the game today. So this is an imminent update here. So Blue Jays reliever, so it's going to be very interesting, is in a very good position, according to Ross Atkins, after throwing 2/3 of an inning with AAA Buffalo a couple days ago. Said Ross Atkins, "I think it's just deciding whether it's in the next day or two that he's returning to our team." And Dan Shulman said it at the broadcast yesterday during the Canada Day game. There was speculation and rumblings that he was going to be returning yesterday for Canada Day. It didn't happen. I think it's very possible that we see some moves come out this afternoon into this evening for Yimi Garcia. And of course, this is going to, lead to a bunch of other moves and, subsequent moves. They desperately need Yimi Garcia, like desperately. And of course, the relievers have done their jobs, especially as of late. We saw yesterday it was a bit of a collective effort. I mean, Justin Brule, Braden Fisher, Nick Sandlin. But you need a late inning guy. If you have a backup bullpen with, Yimi Garcia in the 7th, Yeri Rodriguez the 8th, Jeff Hoffman in the 9th, you're in a pretty good spot here. And especially since they DFA'd Eric Swanson and Swanee hasn't been good, or wasn't good this year, rather. Some struggles through, Chad Green this season was supposed to be a bit of a dominant relief guy. He hasn't came through. They desperately need Yimi Garcia to not only come back and be a really good player and a good reliever, they just need him to help the bullpen out. And obviously, with him being in a really good position, according to Ross Atkins, this is fantastic news. We cannot afford any more setbacks, and to have him be able to come back in a timely manner as soon as this evening is massive and truly changes, everything for the bullpen specifically, because we know how important Yimi Garcia is to this team. And of course, with the way the bullpen gets managed by John Schneider, he did a good job yesterday. Give him a round of applause for that. And for these crucial games against AL East opponents, they've gotten through a lot of them. But for these crucial stretch of upcoming games, you're going to need Yimi Garcia back, and hopefully he's back today. And we'll keep you up to date, of course, if he is. But that's a pretty big update there surrounding Yimi Garcia, and one that is not only desperately needed, but one that will just help calm the heart rate down a little bit, because when it comes that 8th inning time, you don't really know who they're going to go to. They've been Yeri Rodriguez as of late, but when he's injured, who is it then? Is it Nick Sandlin? Has it been Braden Fisher? Has been a lot of the, not leverage, but I mean, this series, a couple, really important spots, and one leverage, inning on a couple days ago on Saturday, and then of course, or Sunday it would have been, and then of course, also or Monday it would have been, actually. The days were all crazy. And then, of course, they also have Justin Brule, who was not a leverage guy at all, but he pitched yesterday. You don't want guys like Justin Brule, quite frankly, pitching against the New York Yankees. You want your leverage guys to be, leverage and healthy, right? So let me know down below your thoughts on that. Very interesting tidbit of an update there. But let's also cover the move real quick here now. This, of course, happened before yesterday's game, but I wanted to bring this up because it is an interesting piece of information here. So Leo Jimenez was recalled from AAA and will be active today. Jonathan Clase was optioned to AAA. Makes sense considering the Jays were on infielders yesterday with Bichette day-to-day, and that Clase has been hitting really bad over his last 22 games. So I don't know how long, Leo Jimenez is going to be up with the Jays. We saw him yesterday. Didn't look great. And of course, he's been dealing with a bunch of things. He went down with mono, I believe, following, spring training and not making the team. And then it's been an up and down rehab for him. I don't think this is necessarily I think there's going to be subsequent moves to come here, but for now, Clase was with the Jays for a fairly long time, and he was, of course, one of the big, not acquisitions at the deadline last year, but he's one of the pieces who came back, the piece that came back in the, ironically enough, Yimi Garcia trade. And for him, of course, he hasn't really shown he honestly isn't a great defender randomly. He has, like, a ton of speed, but his routes are really bad, Jonathan Clase, and he hasn't been able to show that power and that even just contact ability that he showed in the minor leagues. He is a switch hitter. He has some value as, like, a fourth outfielder, but I think that's kinda where he is at this point, a fourth outfielder, and for a Jays team that has a ton of outfielders, Nathan Lucas, and maybe even Davis Schneider now, who plays a lot of outfield. Of course, Miles Straw, Dalton Varsho nearing return. The the freedom, I guess, and the free roster spots for him has completely, almost diminished now. And when, of course, when you don't need an infielder and you have a ton of guys who can play a ton of different positions, like Ernie Clement, you don't need, of course, another infielder. But now when Bichette goes down, kind of seeing another guy, and of course seeing the infielder in Leo Jimenez come up, it'll be interesting to get a look at him. But I assume once, of course, Bichette gets healthy and things like that, we're going to see some more moves happening because Dalton Varsho is nearing a return as well. And then once Varsho comes back, obviously, I think they want to keep Miles Straw, Nathan Lucas, Dalton Varsho, among the group. And Anthony Santander is out for a little bit here now, so he's going to be, not factoring in a play anytime soon. But an interesting move nonetheless, specifically because Jonathan Clase, he was here for a while. He is now gone. And I don't know, I don't see rather a clear path for him to return to this team anytime soon, given the return of Dalton Varsho. We know they're looking at getting another right-handed hitter to mash lefties, and most of those come in the form of outfield. So might be the end of Jonathan Clase for a while. Maybe they use Jonathan Clase as a trade chip going forward. And, he showed some signs, but at the end of the day, he didn't really live up to what my tempered expectations were. But it is what it is. We'll have to see what happens going forward there. Speaking of which, Anthony Santander, Ross Atkins shared that Santander's injury for his shoulder has actually involved a subluxation. The Blue Jays feel he's close to starting to hit again, but we'll see. Still tough to chart out much of a timeline until then. And of course, you see Thomas Hall saying if only they had sidelined Santander sooner. They brought him back early. We know that debacle. It was a little bit, probably stupid. And John Schneider admits that. This team is doing all these incredible things. They're winning a ton of games. They're 21-10 in their last 21-10 in their last 31 games. Like, they are on an absolute tear right now. And kind of among all that and lost in it sometimes is the fact they're missing so many key players. Varsho, Santander, the list goes on, Jimmy Garcia. But at the same time, like, they're playing good without him. Do not rush Santander back. Bring him back for a post-trade deadline, late August, just mash fest. And then you can really, and that can be kind of, now preface this by saying, I don't want this to be their only, I guess, trade deadline edition, but you bring him back after the deadline. Maybe he's healthy. He hits 40 home runs. Obviously not going to hit 40, but he's a 40 home run hitter. He hit that 40 home runs last year. Hits, let's say, 20 home runs or even 15 home runs in the short stint that he has. It can help this team. So it's good news is he's starting to hit again soon, but he's going to be out for the foreseeable future again. And similar update on Max Scherzer. He felt the same yesterday as he did in the start. Of course, on Monday, Schneider says, which is good enough news. This will remain a start-to-start thing. And, of course, Bichette's feeling better. Won't miss more time. I presume he's going to be in the lineup tonight. However, I said that yesterday before the game in Canada Day, so I was wrong about that one. Let's hope he's back in the lineup tonight. And just a ton of different things going on here. And as you look at the team, they could use some guys back. Of course, they brought up Will Wagner as a result of needing more infielders. Now they also have Leo Jimenez. But again, Leo Jimenez, he's mainly he has the ability to play shortstop like Andres Jimenez does, and like I guess Ernie Clement in short spurts do. But they wanted somebody with a bit better defensive abilities than Will Wagner does. So that's why they brought up Jimenez. And they have a ton of outfielders now: Schneider, Straw, all these different guys. Very curious to see what their move is when they bring Varsho back. I would assume it'd be optioning Will Wagner or, Leo Jimenez, but ultimately we'll see what that, has to bring. And I'm sure Leo will get another chance. Of course, he had a rough game yesterday, but you're going up against one of the best pitchers in the MLB in Max Fried. But speaking of shortstops, we also have a little bit of insight from Ben Nicholson-Smith on Arjun Amala. If he keeps excelling at Class A Vancouver, a promotion for AA seems logical. From there, performance would dictate next steps for the 19-year-old. And he was recently promoted in MLB Pipeline's top 100 prospects, ranked 50th. So if he continues to match the way he did at the start of the season in A-ball, he's probably going to climb up to the top 25, top 30 in all of baseball here. The Jays now have two prospects, Trey Savage and Arjun, that are cracking the top 100. Quite frankly, the pipeline, I guess, looks really, really good. And as you're entering a critical trade deadline, you always love to see that. I hope they don't trade Arjun Amala or Trey Savage. Is it likely? Now, with jobs on the line, anything could kind of happen here, and it is a little bit scary to see the fact that, this team could end up trading one of Trey Savage or Arjun Amala for a bona fide starter, whether that be a guy like Freddie Peralta, whether that be, there's some rumblings out there about Cabrera. Like, there's a lot of different guys that the Jays could be pursuing, and the trade deadline is going to be absolutely crazy. But just a quick update there on the, prospect system. Again, there's a lot to go over today, folks. And before we wrap up, let's just set the stage for tonight's game, because It has been a very long time since the Toronto Blue Jays. And of course, this actually, I took this screenshot before the Rays game, finished yesterday. So this actually here, the Rays lost yesterday. So just the Jays have officially gotten second in the AL East, and they're ahead of the Rays. They're now in the wild card 1 spot. So this was mainly to show that you're tied with the Rays and they're 1 game back of the Yankees. They're 1 game back of the Yankees. They are ahead of the Rays following the Rays losing late last night. And folks, the Jays are in for a very exciting ride going forward. And let me know down below if you consider the George Springer home run, and it's been replayed a million times, that Canada Day home run. People are saying and calling it one of the best home runs in 15 years because of, a top 15 Jays home run of all time because of, the atmosphere, an AL East push in the middle of the season. I don't know about that. This is from Keegan Matheson's article. It kind of gives me chills here. Next time up, Springers kept piling on with a 2-run single shot right back up the middle in the 7th, finishing a 3-for-4 night with 7 RBIs, a new career high for him in a single game. What a day and what a season for the resurgent veteran who shut some people up along the way. And I'll be one of them. I mean, you think back to his spring training, how bad he was in spring training, like disastrously bad, all-time bad in spring training. And despite that, all-time low, he's turned into a beast and one of the best players on the team. And that home run, I think that could be a turning point for it. You think back to 2015 when they made the trade for David Price. They had the series against the Royals, and they absolutely destroyed them. Think back now, and I think if this team goes far in the next few weeks, next few months, we'll be looking back to that one Canada Day game yesterday, that one big home run as a turning point for the Toronto Blue Jays and their season going forward. But folks, that'll wrap it up. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. A huge, huge game tonight. I have full faith in this team. The trade deadline soon. They got to go all in, and for the first time in a very long time, this Toronto Blue Jays team feels not only different, but just completely locked in. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the baseball. Man, what a crazy start to the season. Started off great, then in the middle kind of got bad, and now we're right back up and at an all-time high for this season. Cheers.